Okay, this is a couple minutes on how you install Rubbermaid Fasttrack shelving. This happens to be the tight mesh with the half-inch spacing on the wire mesh, and these are 20-inch shelves. So briefly, after you do your BOM, your little bill of materials, which is frightening when you have to pay the bill. Finding the studs was pretty easy, so I had that all marked out. And you count how many standards you need, how much rail you need, how many of these shelf you need, and the brackets, and then all the screws for everything. You can see here in this little installation, over on this side, the concrete wall was acceptable to run some all the way down. But over here, not so much. So I said, well, I'm going to just put stuff on the floor on this side. But I really don't like having stuff on the floor. It's just kind of messy, and it tends to get a little moist down there. The way I installed this was, I picked an elevation here. This is pretty much set by this one piece that sits almost down to the bottom. So that kind of set my top elevation. I made this nice and level. I don't know why they pre-drill holes for you, because they're never where they need to be, because you have to kind of put the rail where it's going to go. And then you can see here, there's a little mark. I took a laser level, put it on a stand, got the laser line at the bottom of the rail, and then I just went around here and I marked some marks so I could put all the rails at exactly the same height, just to keep it all consistent. Then, of course, then you just have massive piloting and screwing all these screws, making sure everything is nice and level. And at times, just because of the way it worked out, I had to actually grind a little slot out here so I could put this where it needed to be so that it was vertical, because, you know, sometimes the studs, they're just not vertical, and at least based on the nails that I had. And when I put in the plywood, I had actually snapped chalk lines, vertical chalk lines, so I knew really precisely where the studs were. Some other thing that was kind of tricky here, oh, you should know, these are the new, there are two styles of Fasttrack brackets now. The old style would stick out beyond this, and so I obviously didn't want that in this installation, because walking up and down, it would catch in the eye or shoulder or something. And also, this is nice and flush on top, so you can slide boxes. That was a drawback of the old approach. One drawback of the new brackets is this gauge is a lot less than the old one, and it makes installation tougher, because these things are not fixed. It's flexy, and it's just a pain in the butt. Putting the brackets on, some people complain about it, but this is what I do here, and the fat part is up here. This is the wall side, this is upside down, and what you do is you just stick it in there, and what happens is you can push and slide it in, and it goes pretty easily. It doesn't take a lot of strength. But I'll tell you, what I do is you have to put the brackets into place, and then you put the shelving on top. You can see here I put little black marks, you know, on each showing where it should be, and sometimes it's a real trick figuring out, oh, I'm going to put it here. Sometimes it's just a real struggle, and then you take the shelf, flip it over, put all the brackets on, flip it back over, and it's just a terrible task trying to get it, you know, squeeze these things and fit them in, and oh, it's just, you have to fight it really hard. The other kind of fun stuff that I did here is, this is a 12-foot piece, that's as long as it is, so it stopped right here, so it's actually like 11 feet 9 inches or something. So you can see these are two separate pieces, and I actually ground out this little slot here so it would fit two of these instead of just one. And you just cut this really carefully with a grinder and a metal thing, and then just grind it flat without, you know, hitting this little piece, because it's pretty narrow, but that worked out pretty well. And then you just do this a million billion times. It takes forever to put the rails up, and then put the standards up, and then to put these darn shelving and brackets. It's just a whole lot of dog work, you know, rinse and repeat a whole bunch of times. But now I have a lot of shelving, so now we can take all the crap out of the closets and stuff and have it all in one nice place where we can get at it pretty easily. The way I set these up actually is 2 of those clear buckets that you get at Home Depot fit nicely here, because lifting off one bucket's fine, but when you have piles and piles of stuff, it's really hard to get to anything, and that's why I did this project.